Welcome to the AnyGames.ie podcast, the home of five-a-side, grassroots and amateur football in Ireland. Our goal is to build a community, connecting people in Ireland through football, discussing the latest news and developments across the country and interviewing the people behind local clubs and organisations, with some Premier League talk in there too. You can catch all our episodes on Spotify and YouTube, get involved in our community on AnyGames.ie and find us on social media through Facebook, Instagram and X. If you like what you hear, follow us, give us a like and get involved in the comments. Now, let's get into this week's episode.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the AnyGames.ie podcast with myself, Dave.
And me, Gav. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? We have to sing it because copyright
infringement means we can't actually use the song. Anyway,
we tried.
We did try. Yeah. We looked it up and we were let down.
Couldn't even use a couple of seconds. We had Dr. Dre from Still Dre in there.
He was here, but he went home.
He went, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not still here. Still Dre.
So, Gav, welcome back.
Good to be back, Dave.
Yeah.
Good to be back. Missed 2 episodes. And we're at episode 10.
Episode 10, I can't believe it.
Double digits.
I know. It only feels like we were doing this a couple of weeks ago for the first time.
The 2 episodes that I missed, one was Man Solo, where you did it all by yourself.
I made an attempt at doing something myself.
Yeah. How did that go for you?
I don't know whether it was more awkward doing it or listening back to it. But it got out anyway.
So it wasn't just me listening back to it. It felt awkward now?
No, definitely not.
The 2 of us in it. But I know, fair play to you. You took the reins, and I haven't done one solo yet. I might have to do that in the future. We don't know, but fair play. You kept the podcast rolling.
Yeah, it was more just about consistency and keeping a weekly episode going, you know. So
I'm sure the die-hard fans were very grateful of your input.
I don't know what Bruce Willis has anything to do with this, but
Jesus, it's coming up to that time of year though.
It is.
We're going to be looking at the Nakatomi Plaza soon enough.
Yeah, everybody's favourite Christmas movie.
I think so. And anybody who says it's not a Christmas movie, they're wrong. And staying on the subject of actually talking about Christmas, we have plans to do a Christmas special.
We do.
We don't know what that looks like.
Not sure what that looks like just yet, but
it might just be a case that we do an episode and just call it a Christmas special.
It could be.
And it's not any different to any of the episodes that we've done before.
We could just phone it in, but we'll see.
But I love a Christmas special, Dave.
Do love a Christmas special.
Like, not even football related. Like, for me, I was saying it to you earlier. Yesterday I sat down with the wife and we watched the Royal Family Christmas special, the one with the new sofa, you know, where they go over to Denise and Dave's. Such a classic episode. So good. The old excrement in the exhaust pipe in the Mondeo.
I think there's people watch that episode even if they never even really watched Royal Family. It's just one of those things that goes on.
Yeah, it's I love the Royal Family now. I'd say it's an absolute classic, but Christmas specials in particular are brilliant.
Yeah, so stay tuned anyway, and we'll see what we'll be doing for a Christmas special episode.
Yeah, promises to be a cracker.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
I did see what you did there. Actually, I nearly went over my head.
Yeah.
The
puns just keep coming.
Yep. You can expect more of that sort of thing.
I'm sure Jer would appreciate that one. I know he had a couple of puns last week.
He did.
And speaking of Jer, if you're listening, fair play. That was a cracking episode last week. I'm just sorry I wasn't here for it. Very interesting to hear about your sort of history with football, how you got involved, and playing for my old club, Rivermount. I'm surprised that our paths hadn't crossed. I think Jer's a year or 2 older than me, so that's probably...
Yeah, probably. Well, me and Jared are the same age, so roughly.
Yeah, so probably about 10 years older than me then. But yeah, obviously his journey into photography and how that incorporated football as well, that was quite interesting, and MMA and stuff.
It's a great story because football brought him to his passion for photography, you know.
Yeah, and it ties into what we've been saying the last couple of weeks in terms of, you know, you don't actually have to be on the pitch playing to be involved with football or with a football club. You know, there's so many aspects there. I mean, they have this video analysis system now, some of the clubs are adopting, and it's to look back at footage of, you know, formations or plays or whatever they might be doing, and clubs are using it sort of as a training tool now. So if you're any way good with video editing software or that type of stuff, you could be ideal for a club.
Yeah, like clubs are, like, they're out there now, they're using social media more and more now to promote their club, promote things at their club, but also like just highlighting people at the club as well. Like you see like Ratto Tarps, for example, they're always posting goals from their players and stuff like that, and it's good to see, you know. But yeah, as you say, someone who's good at the video editing and stuff like that definitely would be needed at clubs like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose one of the standout segments of last week's episode with Jer was the discussion around mental health.
Yeah.
Which is becoming a more common subject, I would have said. Just in general, in life in general, I think people are starting to talk about it more.
Oh, definitely. And Jer's brilliant at that. If you go over to any of his social feeds, you'll see him. He's very open about it. And like, I was really thankful for him talking to us about it last week on the podcast.
Well, hopefully it might have resonated with a couple of listeners, you know. They might have been struggling themselves, might have had experience with it, maybe a family member who was going through it. And sometimes I think just knowing that somebody else has gone through it or is going through it kind of takes you out of that isolation. I went through a patch of anxiety myself at one stage, and speaking to other people about it really helped because they shared their experience with anxiety, and you don't feel like there's something wrong with you, or
you're alone.
You're the only one with that problem.
Yeah.
And as they say, a problem shared is a problem halved. So it's definitely something you can benefit from talking from, you know.
Yeah. So again, big thanks to Jay for everything last week, for speaking about all of that, and for coming on the podcast and chatting with us. And hopefully you hear him again on here.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be the three of us at some stage.
Yeah, just having chats, you know. Jay's more than welcome to come on this anytime he wants. And if you want to check out any of his work, it's Jeremy McGuinness Photography across all his socials, and I advise you go over there and have a look. He's got some great stuff up there. Yeah,
and I'm glad that he's as busy as he is, because listening to the two of you last week, I was getting a bit jealous because he's obviously been friends for a long time. There's genuine chemistry there, and I was getting worried I might be getting the old elbow. The old people's elbow.
No. Actually, it's funny you say that. Jay's a big wrestling fan.
I knew it, that's why I threw that in there.
But so thanks very much to Jay.
Yeah, cheers, Jay. So moving on then to In the News, and we'll start with probably the biggest headline in Irish football at the moment, which is the FAI are cutting 60 jobs. What can you tell us about that, Dave?
Yeah, so this is a story I came across yesterday, and it's relatively fresh as far as I know. So the FAI are cutting 60 jobs in the organisation. From what I see, it's been referred to as football-facing jobs. Now, I don't really know what that means. For me, that sounds like it's people who are directly involved with the running of football throughout the country.
Yeah, so in a specific footballing capacity rather than admin or that side of it. It's actually people on the pitch, probably in clubs.
So part of the story I was just reading there, they say the rationale here, the cuts are part of the FAI's broader restructuring efforts to streamline operations and address financial pressures through specific motivations. Those specific motivations weren't detailed in the public announcements. Now, part of what I read is that this was just dropped on the staff in like a public forum kind of.
There was no forewarning really, like.
No. And it's gotten massive backlash from the likes of SIP2, who don't back this.
No, well, yeah, usually when you get unions like that, if staff are involved with unions and they're given little to no notice, you can guarantee the unions are going to come back fighting strong, and which they should. I mean, that's what they're there for. They're there to protect the employees in circumstances like that. So it'll be interesting to see now, as that story begins to unfold, what it looks like, what are the positions that are affected, and also what cost to the FAI in terms of redundancy is going to be paid.
This is true. The bit that stood out to me and made me think it was relevant to our podcast and our platform here is that football facing jobs side of it. What does that mean for grassroots clubs? Like, are we going to have less people out there working towards improving things at grassroots and amateur level?
Well, I always wondered with those FAI positions where they're actually employed by the FAI, but they're working within clubs, like local clubs. So you might have somebody who's an academy director working at one of the top academies within one of the clubs. So although they're employed by the FAI, they're actually directly working with a football club.
Yeah.
You know, they're not part of the international setup, nothing like that. They're not part of any of the schoolboy FAI team, so to speak. They're actually out there in the clubs carrying out those roles. So I wonder what it means for those people. Obviously, will they continue with that role within the club?
You would wonder. You're like, is that the kind of thing they're saying is getting cut here? I don't know, and only time will tell with this.
If they are football facing positions that are getting cut, you would imagine then that would have some sort of a ripple effect. If it is for those people involved with the clubs,
it definitely will.
So we'll just have to wait and see. It's very vague in terms of the.
It's still only fresh, this story. I would actually love to get some listener opinions on it, and I have actually put a post up on anygames.ie's chat section. So if anybody listening wants to get involved there, they can head over to anygames.ie, head to the chat. I've started the topic, it's called FAI job cuts, and there I'm asking, with the FAI announcement that they are to act 60 jobs in the organisation in the coming weeks, we want to get your take on the cuts. Apparently they are to be football facing roles that are to go. How do you see this affecting the sport? Will grassroots level clubs feel this the most, or will it have any impact? Do you think the cuts are a good move or just a short-sighted cost-cutting measure for the FAI?
In terms of whether it's a short-sighted money-saving effort, I suppose only time will tell. We've been very critical of the FAI here on this podcast. Obviously, it's terrible news for those affected and potentially the clubs affected as well. But similar to, let's say, Manchester United, the way they've made some ridiculous cuts. Canteen ladies and people who've been with the club for 30, 40 years losing their jobs. When you think about the money then that they go and spend in the summer.
Yeah, it's sickening really, isn't it?
So you would like to have a good understanding. Obviously it's probably not going to be made public knowledge, but what does the finances of the FAI actually look like at the moment?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do you know, it's a topic we might come back to next week if we get some listener feedback. We can,
and hopefully there's maybe some more news on it.
Yeah, we'll have a bit more information on it. So like I said, if you want to get involved, head over to anygames.ie, head over to the chat section there and let us know what you think there, or you can drop into the comments here on Spotify and YouTube, and we will get to them as well. And anything we see we'll mention next week on the podcast. I'll also be putting it out on other socials like TikTok and stuff like that, so you can drop into the comments there and let us know what you think, and we'll come back to this topic next week.
Sticking with Irish football, I don't know if you covered it on last week's episode, Dave, but Shamrock Rovers are the League of Ireland champions, and they really made hard work of it in the end, having led the league for so long. They were only in need of a point in their last 4 games.
Yeah, because they were comfortable for some time.
They were comfortable, and they only needed a point, and they ended up losing 3 on the trot, one of which was to Derry, and they eventually got the point they needed in the second last game to clinch it. So begrudgingly, I would say congratulations to Shamrock Rovers. Yeah. Poor Bows kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah, because they were exciting. They were exciting at the start of the season, weren't they? They looked like they were
looking good. I mean, they weren't far off the pace. They just too many defeats ultimately cost them, and I suppose that's a bit of an obvious thing to say, but definitely improvement on last season.
I think it's good to see a Bows team kind of back on an upward trajectory, especially given where we're from. That would be our kind of local club that we would have been to games and that growing up, you know, and you still go to the games every week. Well, every other week.
Try to get to go when I can. It's more that the young lads, the 2 sons, are big into football, so I'm trying to share that experience with them, and you can't bring them to Old Trafford or the Etihad every week.
No. And we should be supporting local clubs.
And we should.
Our League of Ireland clubs.
Yeah, and for me, I'm kind of torn because I don't want to be one of those bandwagoners either.
Yeah.
Because the League of Ireland has seen such a huge resurgence over the last couple of years. It's certainly heading in the right trajectory. I don't want to. I'm kind of torn between supporting local and sharing that experience with the lads, and then kind of going, well, I've probably gone to more Man United games over the last couple of years than I have Bows, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a hardcore Bows fan, because I'm not.
No,
but that's
you try it's just good though to try and get back into the game here and to support the League of Ireland. And it's not just you that's happening. You can see that happening.
I've had there's friends of mine who've kind of got back into it maybe the last 3-4 seasons, with Shells. They'd be Shell supporters, and obviously they had a great season last season, and Shells did some unbelievable things, and they got to enjoy that experience, So look, hopefully I'll get to more games now next season with the two boys, and Bows might be in a position to do something similar to what Shells did. Yeah,
take a little step further.
Yeah, hopefully.
And win something.
And actually, sticking with Bows, it's recently been announced that the redevelopment of Dalymount Park and the costs behind it are set to triple. So the original quote was around the 20 million mark, and that has now risen to 63 million for the redevelopment. Members of the Dublin City Council voted to allow for the council to borrow the further 34 million that was required for the project. Although that maths doesn't quite make sense, this is how I'm reading the article here in front of me. So they've given the DCC have given the go ahead, and they are borrowing that additional money that is needed, and the finalised project is set to be completed by the start of the 2029 season. So it will be interesting to see what that looks like, and hopefully it stays on track and doesn't turn into a children's hospital saga.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So I think this is the type of investment that's needed. We've seen it with Tallaght Stadium, which is fit for purpose. You've got other stadiums out there that are in dire need of refurbishment, and some have been left fairly derelict to the point where they're not actually fit for redevelopment.
Yeah.
They actually need a lot more work than that. So yeah, look, another good move for the league, and hopefully that development now stays on track. And
it'd be a great move for the Visbra area.
Absolutely. They've been calling out for over a decade now, I think, for this redevelopment, and I don't know if you've seen it, but
the plans look great.
The plans look amazing.
Yeah,
they look great, and I think it'd be brilliant for the area, brilliant for the fans, brilliant for the away fans. It's always good to travel to something modern. From looking at the plans, I don't think it's going to take too much away from the atmosphere. It's not going to take, the way sometimes you can have these redevelopments or teams move to a new stadium, wherever, and they can kind of lose that bit of magic. So
I think, just to say that, like Everton have proved that you don't necessarily have to lose that magic moving to a new stadium. The atmosphere at that Hill Dickinson Stadium has been great. Yeah,
but then you look at the flip side of that, and you have Tottenham in their new stadium, and they're brilliant away from home, and then can't play at home.
Yeah.
Although they did beat Copenhagen at home last night. So
I heard a great thing about that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium before, and the fact that it looks like a toilet.
Yeah.
And then, I think it was on the Arseblog podcast. The board on top, they said, "Oh yeah, look at the toilet duck."
Toilet duck. Very good. Very good.
It made me laugh because Spurs are shit and they play in a toilet ball.
And we're less than 20 minutes into this podcast, and Dave has insulted Spurs. Is that a record? I don't think it is. I think
I think I've gone earlier.
Yeah,
I think I've gone earlier.
You have.
Yeah,
I think you have. But yeah, look, the redevelopment of Dalymount Park, hopefully it stays on track, and if it does, and it all goes ahead, it'll be another step forward for the league and for Bows. So happy days.
So hopefully all goes well there. Then I suppose, Gav, another in the news story this week, probably worth mentioning because I'm sure some of our listeners are big Celtic fans.
Martin O'Neill
back and winning Old Firm derbies again.
Yeah, wearing the tracksuit.
Yeah,
he looks the business, doesn't he?
He does.
And what is he? He's 70 odd now, is he?
Is he that old?
I think he is.
He's looking well for it.
Yeah, he is. He hasn't really changed. I think he looks like he did back when he was Leicester manager.
Yeah. He kind of he hasn't really changed. But that's only a temporary post, isn't it, for him? Like he's not back in there full time.
No, there's I've seen a few links to the job, but nothing concrete at the moment. And then there's been a few links to the Wolves job as well, because Pereira got the sack last week.
I mean, that's the least surprising thing.
It only felt like a couple of weeks ago we were talking about him signing a new contract.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think we said at that time contracts don't really mean a huge deal, not for managers at least, because you know that at the bottom end of the table at least the contracts usually aren't.
Yeah.
and overly expensive for the club to buy them out.
They're not, and it's gone so badly there that they need to change something. And unfortunately for him, the manager is the first thing that generally gets changed.
The fans were turning on him and the players, and he was turning back at the fans. So
that's the writing on the wall. Yeah,
there's no coming back from that, really, is there?
So who do you see going in there?
It's an interesting one, actually. I've seen Michael Carrick was linked with it, and also what's the previous manager they had, Gary
O'Neill.
Sorry, yeah.
That one, literally just today, I think I read about that one not getting shot down, but I think it's Gary O'Neill said something like it's not like the right time for him or something to go back. Or that's not happening.
It's a difficult job for anybody coming in there.
Yeah,
it really is. So
I mean, they're going down regardless of who goes in, I think.
Yeah. Actually, do you know who was seen linked to the job? Robbie Keane. A return to Molyneux for Robbie Keane, where he made his senior debut. So, in fairness to Robbie Keane, he's taken up some obscure posts.
He has.
It's an interesting path.
Do you reckon it's his dream to go to Wolves?
It's always that fella. He must be on the night owl, is he? Because all he does is have these dreams. Flat out on the night owl. But
it would be an interesting one. I don't see Robbie Keane in there, to be honest. But you never know. Actually, while we're on the subject of managers, I wanted to ask you, because Jay brought up a good one last week on the podcast. He kind of asked about managers on either end of the table. So he asked me if I thought, say, top 7, top 8, who would be next. And at the time of speaking last week, Liverpool hadn't really turned their things around yet, so I was saying maybe Arne Slot. Well, it's probably changed now, but
it's an interesting one because the league is so tight at the moment. We discussed this during the week. There's 2-3 points separating 8 teams at the moment.
Yeah,
it's that close where every game week it's constantly changing. I mean, we were up to 3rd or 4th. I say we, I mean Manchester United, the weekend before last, after the Saturday. By the Sunday we were dropped down to 4th or 5th, and then after picking up only a draw against Forest, we're down in 8th. So it's
volatile.
I mean, you've got Arsenal, who are out in front by a good margin. City and Liverpool kind of close to 2nd and 3rd there, and then everyone else after that is it's very close. And I mean, when I say everybody else after that, they're only a point behind themselves. I think there's 3 teams on 18, another 3 on 17. This kind of thing. So it's
saying Arsenal are out there, but I was looking at the table today and looking at the 2 games Arsenal have after the international break coming up. We are at home to Tottenham and then away to Chelsea, and we are 6 points clear at the top of the league. But I mean, things could look a whole lot different after those 2 games.
But you could say that about all the teams, and the Premier League is the most competitive it's been in a long time. Where I find when we're doing the Premier League preview every week, we nearly start every fixture with, that's a difficult one.
Yeah,
that's a difficult one.
That's true.
Because you don't know from week to week who's got. I mean, you look at even at the likes of the Man City and Bournemouth game last week. Bournemouth were the team in form, and probably for the first time ever might have been going into that game as favourites.
Yeah, you could have argued that.
But then City did what City do, and now you're probably looking at them going, maybe they're in this title race after all.
So Gav, I suppose to circle back to where we started then, and do you see any managers in trouble in the Premier League at the moment?
Not in the top half. I mean, pressure's always on with any manager. You get 3 or 4 bad runs and questions start getting asked. We seen it only a few weeks back when Liverpool were on the back of 4 defeats.
Yeah.
People were starting to think, is the wheels coming off for Arne Slot? So look, it can happen, and it can creep up fairly quick, especially now that we're coming into these winter months. The games come thick and fast after this next international break, and before we know it, we're kind of that Christmas period. I mean, it seems like football's constantly on during the Christmas.
Yeah,
I think
it does.
I actually read something the other day that Man United are the only team playing on Stephen's Day / Boxing Day.
I did see something about that, yeah,
this year. So
seems very strange.
There's only one match on, but I think whatever way it falls, then over the weekend, all the other games then will be caught up then with the rest of the teams in the league. So, but no, to go back to your question, not at the moment. I think the teams that are down at the bottom are expected to be down at the bottom, really. Still early days for the likes of Sean Dyche. Obviously, Nottingham Forest going through managers fairly fairly quick. They're on the third after 10 games this season already. So
I think Deutsch will steady the ship there a little bit.
It looks like he's kind of doing that already, but it'll be interesting for him. But no, at the moment, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Then just to close that out, I think for me, and we'll touch on it when we get into our Premier League review of the games gone by, I think if Newcastle continue to have bad results, I think Eddie Howe could be looking in trouble. Not just yet, but
it's an interesting Eddie Howe just because with the financial fair play, Newcastle haven't really been able to spend a whole lot of money. They got that money for Isak quite late. They have brought in players, but you wouldn't necessarily say they have a complete squad or anywhere near what Eddie Howe would like. And I don't think you're going to hear too much about it in the media because he's
liked.
He's very well liked.
Yeah.
And it does. He's a very likeable character, and he has done a great job there. I mean, I remember when the money force came in at Newcastle and the ownership takeover happened, and there was talk at that time if Eddie Howe was going to be the right man to the job. I think the thought at the time was that Newcastle were going to be the next Man City.
Yeah.
And obviously that hasn't come to fruition with the financial fair play. So at this moment in time, no, I think he'll be given. I think he's earned a lot of time.
That's fair enough.
And I think he'll get it. Unless it goes drastically wrong, but you could say that about every manager.
You could say that about anybody, I suppose. So you mentioned coming up to Christmas period and football, but that also brings January transfer window. Any rumours or any news sticking out to you about that?
I heard one the other day about Elliot Anderson from Forest going to United. Apparently Man United are prepared to offer 60 million in January. I think it's an obvious move. He is the sort of top performing midfielder in the Premier League at the moment in terms of stats, from ball carrying stats to you're so childish. Great at carrying balls. From ball carrying stats to passes in the final thirds, most duels won, he's leading all of those stats across the board. So I think he'd be an ideal candidate for Man United. I just don't think you get that calibre of player and the form that he's in right now
in January.
Offer 60 million.
That's true as well.
I mean, we were prepared to offer scandalous amounts of money for Baleba, who does a similar role, or at least did a similar role for Brighton last season. He certainly hasn't done it this season. You'd wonder if that's because his head had been turned, or did he just have a really good season and has peaked. It's hard to know with these young players whether they come back to that form.
What's the contract situation like?
I'm not too sure, but again, they're rumblings and they're rumours, and it's well documented that United are looking for a long-term replacement for Casemiro, somebody who can play that position. So
it's much needed. You can see United are a different team when Casemiro's playing.
Well, I think we'll touch on it a bit more, but you can see that the way United are set up now and this current run of form or lack of defeats in the last couple of games, you can see United are having to compensate, and it's requiring a lot of hard work from our attacking players when we are being transitioned on to get back into those positions and fill the spaces to kind of make up for the deficit that a partnership like Bruno and Casemiro bring. It'll be an interesting one. It's definitely something that we need, but I'm kind of glad Amarim has identified it and he's doing something obviously to counteract those.
As they say, there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah,
and it means either there's validity to the rumours that it's him, or at least that United are looking.
Yeah, well, he was on the shortlist in the summer. There was him, Baleba, and Wharton.
Oh yeah,
Wharton. So Wharton, Anderson and Baleba were kind of the top three contenders, and Baleba was obviously top of the list at the end of the summer, and obviously that didn't happen. Brighton didn't want to let him go, but as I said, we've seen Baleba's form since then, and he's been taken off half time most of the games after 50 minutes. It looked like an absolute shadow of the player he was.
It's a funny one. That do you think that's because he wanted to get a move and it didn't happen?
It's hard to know, and it's hard to know what kind of dark arts go in behind these transfer windows. Is he kind of throwing his toys out with the pram a bit? has his head been turned and he's it's maybe a lack of focus, or is he purposely doing it maybe to force a move in January? But has he gone too far with it to the point where United are now looking at the likes of Anderson as an alternative because Belabe's form has fallen off a cliff? So
yeah, I mean that's what's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think there's something to be said for just remaining professional in a situation like that and putting your head down and putting the work in.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that might not be what's happening, but
we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, what his representatives are discussing with him, whether this is some sort of a tactic to get the move that he's looking for, and it's just backfired, or maybe it's just a case that his form has dropped off and it might not have anything to do with that at all. So
yeah,
it remains to be seen. But
it's
out of those three, Anderson's definitely the front runner at the moment, and I think it's an obvious choice for United. Premier League proven, young, kind of fits the criteria of Ineos's strategy at the moment. So yeah, I think for me anyway, I'd love to see him at United. He's also left-footed as well. So yeah, we'll see how that progresses. But I'm sure the closer we get to Christmas, the harder these rumours are getting.
Yeah, every week now you're probably going to see some player linked somewhere here, there and everywhere. So
yeah, you'd probably spend Christmas week glued to Fabrizio Romano's Twitter page.
I'm an Ornstein person.
Ornstein's great, but I would say I prefer Ornstein. He just covers what you're interested in, where Fabrizio Romano is covering transfers in Kazakhstan and everything.
This is true, and I suppose with Ornstein, I find if Ornstein's reporting it, it's concrete. Romano at times fairly solid, but at times it's rumours and whispers, and he's probably heard something and he's putting it out there, and then it never comes, and then all of a sudden people are saying, fucking Fabrizio Romano.
Do you know what it is with Fabrizio as well? I think sometimes he must have some sort of a connection. Obviously he has plenty of connections, but I think he has a lot of connections with agents.
Okay.
And sometimes it's agents pushing the story to push the move. Like you look at the Garnacho one, he must have retweeted that 3 times a day for about 6 weeks.
Yeah,
I was sick of seeing it on me feed. Yeah. So,
but it gets likes and it gets engagement, and
it's fit for purpose. It does what it's supposed to do. I think the other interesting one in the Premier League for me will be Mark A if he goes to Liverpool.
That won't happen in January, surely.
Don't call me surely. I think it will. Did I see something in the news recently where he is kind of has gone to the higher ups in Palace and said, look, I've given everything I can to this club, respectfully allow this to happen. Whether that's just a move in general or if he's saying specifically Liverpool. So again, another one that remains to be seen.
Just to close that one out, I think I'd be interested to see it now, because I'd be surprised with Palace going as well as they are in the league if they'd be willing to let him go now, like in January.
The other side of that as well is, sorry to cut across you, but the interesting thing with that is it's not specifically Liverpool's central defence that's the issue. It's their fullbacks. With Kirkes and Frimpong coming in, obviously Frimpong's been injured, but you would say that's where their problem areas are, and that's where they're conceding goal from, those wider positions. So it'll be interesting to see if Liverpool make any sort of moves. Obviously they've spent a serious amount of money in the summer. Are the funds still there? You'd imagine so. So I suppose,
we'll wait and see.
Be interesting to see how that plays out. So moving on, then we are going to look at what's been happening over in the Any Games this week. And Dave, have we had much interaction there on the socials?
So one that stood out to me, and I definitely want to take it and ask you what you think here, comes from one of our listeners, Andrew. He says, here's one for you. Would you put Vinicius Jr. as a great player, or is the media overhyping him? I'm just trying to work out what level you could put him at. Me personally, I think he's very good, but I don't think he's at the levels of an Henry or a John Barnes.
If he's comparing John Barnes and Henry, he's probably a Liverpool fan.
I think if he came up against an Irwin or a Maldini, he'd get a hiding. And he says then maybe a couple of years down the line. But again, as I said, players like Henry, Ornoin, Baggio were all a level above. Then he says they would also not go missing in a game. Then you'd have a level below, which is the likes of Romario, Hadji, Nedved, all great players, but could go missing sometimes.
It's an interesting one. I'll start by saying What's up, Andrew? How are you, pal? Thanks for getting in touch. And I would say with these types of discussions, it's always difficult because when you're comparing eras just in general, it's a difficult one because I was looking at it recently where they were talking about is Van Dijk overrated and how would he stack up against the Premier League strikers of old? Because a lot of former Premier League players, central defenders, would say there was a lot better caliber striker back in the day because the game moved away from the number 9 for so long.
Yeah.
They're always kind of saying, you know, every week, didn't matter what team you had a top striker. You know, and different strikers, you know, anything from a Duncan Ferguson to a Michael Owen, they give you a different problem. Where a lot of central defenders don't have that issue. So when comparing Vinny Jr., I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of La Liga, not as much as I used to. Where I sort of see the Spanish teams is in the latter stages of the Champions League. There's a reason that they get there.
Yeah, true.
And it's because of players like Vinny Jr.
They have got the quality.
I get the point where they can go missing, and sometimes you're looking forward to a game and the likes of a Vinny Jr. just doesn't show up.
Yeah, that can happen to
but
the best of players though.
But he's also the type of player that can make something happen from absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I spoke to you a few weeks ago about, say, Marcus Rashford. I said he's a moments player, and you said, is football not about having moments?
Yeah, and I like if we look at Dembele last year for PSG, people were saying for so long he was overrated, and then something happened and he just had a bunch of those moments. That's all it takes sometimes to
get on people's radar, I
yeah, and
suppose.
just change public opinion and public perception. And
to answer the question a little bit, I think the truth's somewhere in the middle. I think he has a high ceiling. I think he's going to get better. I think right now, as I say, I don't watch a lot of La Liga, so I don't really know. So as you say, Champions League football is where I'm seeing a lot of Vinicius Junior, but I see a player with great talent. Is he up at the levels yet? Probably not, but I think he's actually going to get there.
I get Andrew's point. I think he has that level, maybe not to the level of the likes of an R9 because he was generational talent, but I'd say probably on the level of a Nedved and a Hadji, and just for those moments,
Yeah.
for what he can do single-handedly.
But and he alludes to it himself in his question when he says maybe in a couple of years, maybe, and he could be right there. You could be looking in a couple of years, and the consistency starts to come into your game, into Vinicius Junior's game, and then all of a sudden you're saying this fella is a world beater.
Yeah, I suppose what stands out about that post in particular is if he was up against Dennis Irwin, he'd get a hide. Because I seen Dennis Irwin not too long ago on the overlap, and he still looks like he'd give you a hide.
Fair enough. Yeah,
It hasn't changed,
Yeah.
and he was a phenomenal player. Like, he was in my United all-time 11 because
because he just belongs there.
he just belongs
Yeah.
there. He was the OG fullback. He could play in the modern
Score a
game.
lot of OGs, did he?
Yeah. He didn't actually. I don't think.
No,
he
probably hasn't got. I
certainly
don't
wasn't a
remember him.
Jamie Carragher anyway.
No, but I suppose to answer Andrew's question, yeah, I think
we're agreeing with Andrew. In
Yeah, I
terms
think so.
of
Yeah,
he hasn't hit that ceiling just yet, but there's enough quality there, and he's had enough of those moments, and he's capable of producing those moments that we talked about on the big stage.
yeah. Just a shout out as well to some of the players he mentioned in that question: Hadji, Romario, Baggio.
Yeah, see, these were all the
Legends.
players. Like when
Yeah.
we were getting into football, and so many of them played in Italy as well. When we were kind of looking at
Channel 4 every
Channel
Sunday.
4, Go
Right.
Lazzo,
Yeah,
you know, loved all that. You know,
Yeah.
the La Gazzetta and all. That was sitting outside an Italian coffee shop with a newspaper,
I know. Oh, that's the dream, Cav. That's
just
the
talking
dream.
about Italian football.
I know. Me and you both have an affinity for Italy.
Yeah, we
You know,
100% do. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, take us to our spiritual home and watch a bit of Italian football.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'd have loved to have gone to a game in the 90s in Italy. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
San Siro or Turin, or
When it was at its height.
when it was at its peak.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at the players that grace that league all at the same time, your Batistutas and your Del Pieros,
Trezeguet.
Totti,
Trezeguet there? He was, wasn't
Trezeguet was with Juve,
he?
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them teams were so good defensively. When you think of the defenders, your Cannavaros, your Maldinis, unbelievable.
Great. And I just love dark arts football. I do. I have a place in my heart for it.
Not match fixing though.
Not match fixing. Just
that's too dark.
Just the snidey, things that happen on a pitch. I do enjoy it. England and Italy a few years back, and it was Chiellini on Bukayo Saka. Literally just scruffed him down by the neck.
Yeah.
It's like, I do have a place for that.
Yeah, and Simeone, when he got Beckham sent off for Argentina, he was playing in Italy at the time, wasn't he?
Was he? Yeah,
I think he was. So yeah, look, good memories, and I think that feeds into Andrew's question as well, because we look at a lot of these older players at a time when we were obsessed with football. I don't know if kids are as obsessed with football the same way we were.
I think they're more obsessed with footballers.
That's exactly it. That's the point I was going to make. I think we touched on it before on the podcast, where like my youngest son, big Garnacho fan, and still keeps an eye on Garnacho now, even though he's at Chelsea, and like that follows players, knows all the players, but is more interested in what the players are doing almost than what the team is doing.
Yeah, I remember one of the best things for me about the time Mesut Ozil left Arsenal was he took his fucking fan base with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
took them off Arsenal Twitter and off Arsenal social media. He didn't have to listen to that crap.
Well, he was kind of bittersweet ending, because he had played some great football with Arsenal, but then he had moments where the fans turned on him, he turned on the fans, all that sort of stuff happened.
He's a toxic player, great player when he wanted to be, but very toxic. And I won't actually get into it too much because it's a long forgotten time now.
Yeah, that's football, as they say.
That is football. So Andrew, thanks for your question, and to anybody who wants to get involved in the chats on our podcast and send in your own opinions, head over to anygames.ie to our chat section, drop into the comments here and on YouTube, and follow us on all our social media. Yeah,
I'm not even sure if we answered your question, Andrew. I think we danced around it a bit. I think we agree with everything that you've said.
Yeah, I suppose.
But it is a difficult one to answer, because sometimes like that, if you're comparing eras, it's almost apples and oranges. The game has changed so much. It's played in a completely different way, and yeah, I do think the ceiling is definitely high for Vinny anyway. But whether or not he reaches that, we said that about Jesse Lingard, we said that about Marcus Rashford, and these players never really kicked on. So I don't know. Something tells me that Vinny Jr. will do a lot better than both of those anyway.
Yeah. So thanks again.
So moving on then to our Premier League review, and we are going to take a quick look back at match week 10, which is quite fitting for episode 10.
It is.
And the first game we're going to take a look at is the Brighton and Leeds game. Brighton running home, comfortable 3-0 victors. Very
comfortable, and Danny Welbeck with another great performance there as well.
Yeah, week in, week out, he's like, this is carrying on the form he's had over the last couple of seasons. He's just been very consistent, a player that knows where the goal is.
I actually look at it and I wish he was still at Arsenal.
And I kind of still wish he was at United as well.
Yeah. I look at us and we have Gyökeres out injured now, Havertz out injured again. What I wouldn't give to have Danny Welbeck in there as a backup striker.
Age is certainly not a factor there, but yeah, Gomez coming in with goal 2 and 3, and Leeds had a couple of chances, but Leeds just being very Leeds from one week to the next.
You just don't know what you're going to get.
No. No.
This is exactly what you're going to get with Leeds.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get what you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly how I don't know if that makes sense, but it made sense in my head.
A good bounce back from Brighton, from being beaten against... Who beat them in week 9?
Week 9, Brighton lost to United.
Oh, United, that's it. Yeah, so good bounce back there from Brighton.
And Welbeck was on the score sheet in that game too, with a cracking free kick. And that's actually, right, we'll come to that in a while. I was going to talk about United, because obviously I have a bit of catching up to do. I haven't missed the last 2 episodes. But
you never got the glow.
I never got the glow, but I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't have been gloating anyway.
Okay.
But we'll get back to that. So onto your team then, Dave. Comfortable 2-0 win against Burnley. And that was at Turf Moor as well. So decent away win against them.
It was comfortable in the end. But, I mean, the first 15-20 minutes, up until we got the goal, actually. We got the first goal on 15 minutes. But Burnley were actually making it difficult.
They did. They came out with the blocks and they looked to kind of play football, which is great. They didn't just park the bus.
Yeah, but Arsenal do what Arsenal do. And on 15 minutes, set piece.
I swear to God, they just love it.
I love it. I am loving it. And I'm loving the reaction to it as well. I am loving the people crying about it. It's brilliant.
It's the way the game's gone.
Yeah.
It's the way the game's gone. It's all about set pieces and long throws at the moment.
And then Declan Rice finished off the scoring there. A good goal from him.
Very good goal, yeah. Really good goal.
But there was actually something impressed me in the end of that game, and you'll probably see it across a couple of mainstream outlets as well. It was like near the last kick of the game, and Burnley broke from a corner that Arsenal had. It was a corner or a free kick, can't remember. But you looked at every Arsenal player busting a gut to get back.
Yeah.
And the game was over.
Yeah. They weren't going to get two. Yeah. They were determined to keep the clean sheet.
Get that clean sheet.
Moving on then to Crystal Palace and Brentford, and a 2-0 win there for Palace. That one was at Selhurst Park. Mateta on the score sheet again.
Yeah.
And Nathan Collins with an OG. It was an interesting game. Brentford are a bit hit and miss. I don't think they're poor enough to go down this season, but those are the type of games they should be more competitive in, I think.
Probably. I'm just looking, they currently sit in 12th, and they will probably finish 2 places either up or down from that in the league, you know.
I think as long as they beat the teams around them, they should be fine.
I'm just looking at the teams around them. If you want to go 2 up and 2 down, you have Villa and Brighton above them, and Newcastle and Everton below them.
Yeah.
So
that's
I would actually say their level is somewhere on the bottom scale of those 4 teams. Do you know?
Yeah, but if they're, I don't think Palace fall into that category, because I think Palace are a top 10 team.
Oh, and Palace are really good. Been really impressed with them.
Yeah.
Really impressed with Palace.
Glasner doing a great job there.
Yeah.
We touched on that before in a previous podcast. We'll move on then to Fulham and Wolves.
Nothing shocking here.
No. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back for Pereira.
Yeah, it was.
His final game.
It didn't help that Fulham were sitting just above the bottom 3, I think. So that would have been seen as not so much a 6-pointer, but definitely one of the teams that Wolves would have considered to be around them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you're losing to those teams. I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. But a good result nonetheless for Fulham. And we'll move on then to United and Forest. So 2-2 there. So United went 1-0 up. Casemiro header. Bit of controversy over whether it should have been a corner to begin with, but I don't think you can get too into that. I think you can overanalyse the game. I'm not just saying this because United benefited from it, but we've talked about Arsenal and the set pieces, and we've talked about throw-ins becoming a big part of the game now, long throws.
Yeah.
Because teams are so effective and concentrating so much on the benefits of being good at set pieces and long throws. You can't be analysing whether a ball went out for a throw or whether a ball went over a corner, or having VAR step in. VAR? Oh, I sent that weird. VAR.
That's the pirate version.
VAR. You can't have VAR stepping in for every single decision on the pitch.
No.
So I think you have to let these slide. If that had been against United, I'd be saying the same thing. I know it's easy to say in hindsight, but
more often than not, these things do tend to balance themselves out.
If you lose a corner, the goal hasn't gone in yet, so your job as a footballer is to defend the corner.
Defend it, exactly.
And Forest didn't do that on that occasion, and United went 1-0 up at half time. Second half, United just their minds were still in the dressing room for the first 10 minutes. 2 very quick goals straight after the
48 and 50 minutes
after the restart. Really poor from United, and 2 very similar goals as well. Mix up in defence. De Ligt and Euro almost getting in each other's way. Nobody really attacking the ball. For the second goal, I think it was, Diogo Dalot just completely fell asleep. Didn't see the man coming in behind him, and we found ourselves 2-1 down. look, United played relatively well after that point, and we went and got a point from a good strike from Diallo. Previously, we probably, like at the back end of last season, that's a game we would have lost, and we would have lost
or
probably
even
heavily.
Even a few weeks ago, he probably would have lost that game.
Yeah, and I alluded to it earlier, but Amorim has changed the system. He's been forced to kind of change the system, or at least adapt it to where we're kind of a bit more difficult to break down during the transition, which is good to see. I looked at the tactical analysis of this on Match of the Day, I think it was after the Brighton win, and looked at how hard the likes of Mbeumo and Cunha are working defensively, not just offensively. So I'm not sure what their running stats are, but I mean they're covering a lot of ground, and Cunha's back making slide tackles, making blocks, stopping crosses coming in, all that sort of stuff. So they're having to really work hard and compensate for those deficiencies that I alluded to earlier in the midfield.
Are you feeling a bit more confident about United?
Yes and no. After the Liverpool win, I wasn't getting hyped up at all because Liverpool were poor anyway. I wasn't going to get carried away. It was the likes of a Brighton game that would really tell us where we're at, because
we spoke about it, because you said there's no point in going out beating Liverpool. You're then going to go out and get smashed by Brighton.
Exactly. And Brighton have beaten us at Old Trafford both seasons previous. I wasn't allowing myself to get too high after the Liverpool game, expecting Brighton to do what Brighton do at Old Trafford and beat us.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised by that performance. I took more joy from the performance against Brighton than I did against the win against Liverpool for that reason.
I can imagine so. I mean, like Brighton are a solid side as well, and that was away.
Liverpool are our biggest rivals. Always great to get a win, always great to have those bragging rights. But if I'm looking at the bigger picture in terms of, are United actually progressing, or did we just show up for that game against Liverpool?
Yeah.
I'm glad to see we were able to get that result against Brighton. Moving on then to the Forest game, again, you can take the positives away from that. Although, ultimately, to me at least, it felt like a loss, having been 1-0 up and looking relatively comfortable. To concede 2 goals that quick, previously we would have fallen off.
Probably would have folded.
Probably would have lost that game 4-5-1.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. So to actually kick on from a goal down and seeing out the game and getting the equaliser, and probably unlucky not to actually get the winner at the end with I think it was a clearance from Diallo shot in the last couple of minutes of the game as well, goal line clearance. So yeah, we could have nicked 3 points. It did feel like a bit of a loss, but again, as I said, plenty of positives to take from that. So,
and just, I suppose, to touch quickly on Forest there for that game.
Yeah,
looking better under Sean Dyche.
I think so. That you kind of know what you're going to get with a Sean Dyche team. The only thing I would say, if I was to add a bit of a caveat to it, he's probably got a better selection of players than he's used to. He's also got a bit of European football thrown in there as well, which he hasn't.
He wouldn't usually. Has he managed in Europe before?
No, he wouldn't have done, because he was at Everton. He wouldn't have had European football there in Burnley before that. So this was his kind of forced introduction. So it'd be interesting to see.
Interesting one. It's a good job for him, really, isn't it? Actually.
Well, it's a bit of a dream job. I think he came through the youth academy there. I don't think he had any.
Oh, okay.
He didn't have any senior appearances as far as I'm aware, but he did come up there through the youth academy. So I think he had been asked actually before he was ever in line for the job where he would like to go, and he did mention Forest.
Okay, that's interesting.
For that reason. So it is a bit of a dream job. Look, not like Robbie Keane going to manage Wolves.
No. I suppose just to finish that, I'd say I think it's kind of what Forest need is someone who's going to just steady that ship a little bit.
And it's crazy because they were in Champions League positions.
Yeah.
At the back end of last season for a long time now. The
wheels fell off there as well.
But they were heavy punches because they were playing some brilliant counter-attacking football, and they were well structured, well set up with Nuno, and it's just been carnage since the start of the season. And now you're looking at them steadying the ship with Sean Dyche. You would not have said that.
You wouldn't have said that.
March last year.
No. So it's funny.
March this year. Sorry.
It's funny. So he'll steady that ship. You'd wonder then in a season or two, when Forest are steady again, the ambitions will kick back in from the owner and Sean Dyche for probably through no fault of his own, will find himself looking for a job again.
You'd imagine if the appointment of Sean Dyche alone tells you how much the owner there, Marianakis, has tapered his ambition.
True.
You know, is he gone to the point where, look, we just need somebody in here to stop the rot?
Possibly.
You know, or does he actually look at Sean Dyche going, he's the man to help us progress? I'd imagine it's the former.
Yeah, I would think so.
So it's, again, we'll see how that progresses. Like, I find myself saying that a lot in this episode. We'll see how it progresses, but we're a quarter of the way through the season.
I was just about to say, is that just where we are in the season?
And as I alluded to earlier, we're looking at the points tally for most teams, and it's very close. I mean, 1 week you can be in the bottom half, you get one win under your belt, you climb into the top 6. You don't know what way it's going to go. You really don't. So
it's shaping up to be a good season, actually.
It is, and I don't know if it's going to maintain that. I mean, you look at Arsenal at the moment. If they continue in this current form, are we going to see them 10 or 12 points, or are they going to have a dip? When's that going to come? I know when you were out and out leaders the season before last, wasn't it? Was it the season before last, or was it last season?
Season before last. We never really mounted a challenge last season.
Yeah, so it was the season before last where it was like January, February, and it was like, you know, Joel Bay. Do you know Joel Bay? That does be on Rio Ferdinand's podcast.
No.
Big Arsenal fan.
Not really, no.
He had the replica Premier League. He had the shades on. He had the cigar out in February.
So it's his fault.
So, but I think a lot of Arsenal fans were heading down that route. But
I think we're a different prospect this season in terms
squad
of
depth, and you've a striker, and
we just don't concede. We don't concede shots. Never mind goals.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And just like,
I just actually, to touch on that, and I heard someone make the point, and it's an interesting one. Arsenal, when they do concede a goal, it could probably feel like a gut punch depending on what time of a game it comes in. Like if we go out, say, this weekend against Sunderland and concede the first goal in the first 10-15 minutes, how do Arsenal respond to that? Whereas if we concede this first goal in how many games, if we're 3-0 up and we concede it, you can live with it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's almost like...
Well, it sounds like they can't live with it because they're chasing back counter-attacks.
This is true.
90-odd minutes when they're 2-0 up.
I think a lot of those players are very aware of the fact that red cards are on the horizon for defensive...
Well, look, it's a good way to be. You focus on them records.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the wins.
This is
keeping clean sheets. It's a recipe for success, if you ask me. So,
we shall see.
So the next game we're looking at then is the Spurs-Chelsea game. That was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, or Toilet Duck Stadium as they would like to refer to. And Chelsea definitely the better side. Probably could have scored a couple more. Very reserved, uninspiring performance from Tottenham.
Well, Tottenham social media basically implies they were shit.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be that harsh. I was trying to be politically correct about it, but
I won't.
They were shit. And I was surprised how poor they were because it's a London derby. You're at home.
Yeah.
But they've been so poor at that stadium. They've picked up most of their wins, if not all their wins, away from home this season.
Do you think that's kind of away from the pressure of your own fans sort of thing? You know, they feel the weight of their fans when they're at home. I don't know. Maybe that's just making excuses, really, isn't it?
Are Tottenham fans known for being overweight, do you think? We'll move on. We won't fast shame any fans here on this podcast.
We will shame Spurs fans, though.
Yeah,
what he is doing.
But no, Chelsea were definitely value for money in that win. What I found interesting was Jed Spence and Van der Ven, I think it was, snubbed Thomas Frank coming off the pitch. I wonder, was that in reference to the tactics that were employed, or maybe the lack of tactics, the lack of substitutions? It's hard to know, but their body language said it all. They were definitely unimpressed by the manager for whatever reason.
But it wasn't a good look because, I mean, I think what was he trying to do? He was trying to get them over to the fans, and that wasn't it? That they were going over to the fans.
He seemed to be pointing in some sort of direction, and they just didn't even make eye contact with him. Just Jed Spence was throwing his arms up, and I've given Jed Spence a lot of praise. Like, I think he's an up and coming defender. I think he's been brilliant so far for Spurs this season. One of their standout performers. Yeah, it was. You don't like to see it.
It wasn't a good look.
I can't
It
imagine.
wasn't a good look. Hopefully, it speaks to rumblings of trouble at Spurs, because I would like to think that.
I would have said that, only they went out and demolished Copenhagen.
They did.
And speaking of Van der Ven, unbelievable solo goal. He did something similar last season. Was it last season he did it?
Did he?
He went on a bit of a mazy run from centre back and he just couldn't be stopped.
Right.
And he definitely has it in the locker. He's got previous. And you'd wonder now, is that all forgotten? Same with Xavi Simons. He was brought on for Bergvall. Bergvall had sustained a concussion. I think it was 5 minutes in, he got a smack of the ball to the head, and upon assessment deemed to be unfit to carry on.
There must have been some whack.
It was close range, and it was a fairly strong smack, but it was kind of troubling actually watching him, because he looked like he was punch drunk, didn't seem steady on his feet, was quite irritated not to be allowed back onto the field, stormed down the tunnel. But I think the correct decision, given how he looked, he did look like he was definitely suffering, so I think the right call was made. But Xavi Simons came on for him. I think he came on the 7th minute and played about an hour before being subbed again. Now, there was a lot made of it, and Tottenham as a team didn't perform, so I don't think it was necessarily down to anything Xavi Simons was doing.
Yeah, it's not like
it was only 7 minutes in as well. It's not as if it wasn't like the Sancho one. I know the Sancho one was off the back of an injury, wasn't it? That he came on for Villa, and then he got subbed off as well. But I think it was deeper into the game. Right.
Okay. But like you could nearly say it was tactical. You could say Simmons basically started that game.
Yeah.
And it's not like Aboué for Arsenal all those years ago when he came on. I think 10 minutes later he was hooked off the pitch.
Yeah. That's a proper smack in the face. Looking at it from the outside, it definitely didn't seem as bad as the Sancho one. The Sancho one seemed pretty bad. Again, looking at that Copenhagen game, he was one of the standout performers yesterday. As far as I'm aware, he did start that game as well, so maybe it was a once-off, and
possibly
just players reacting to a poor result.
Frustration, yeah, because it's a big game. It's a big derby, but good, they lost.
Yeah, well, that's after pushing Chelsea right up the league now as well. So
it has.
They seem to be finding a bit of form. Although, in saying that, just before we recorded this podcast, they were in the early kickoff and
in the Champions League.
And they lost. They drew that game.
Drew
2-2. Came back from
Quaraberg. Is that right?
Yeah, and they were 2-1 down at one point. Garnacho came on, scored the equaliser, but they couldn't push on and get a winner there.
It's a poor result for them.
They'd be very disappointed with that result, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Then the final game on the Saturday was Liverpool against Villa, and a 2-0 win. So Mo Salah handed a goal on a plate.
Really?
For that one.
I have to admit I didn't see this game, so I don't know.
Yeah, and then the Gravenberch one was kind of, you might look at it and go that Liverpool must have done something well there to win that game, but I can't say I was overly impressed with the performance, certainly not with the goals, and I think a lot of it came down to Aston Villa just not being at the races and nearly
that's been the story
causing their own demise.
That's been the story of Villa's season, hasn't it? Bit of inconsistency, although that being said, very important result for Liverpool.
They needed that, and again, having been on such a poor run of form, to have gone and won that and now find themselves close to the top of the table again,
yeah, and a big game this weekend, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, but it'd be interesting. I'd be interested to see what Liverpool fans are thinking. Is that just masking a deeper issues that's there? Maybe.
Yeah.
I can't remember a single game they've played in those 10 games that I've thought Liverpool are title contenders.
So we'll put it to Liverpool fans like this then. The recent result against Aston Villa, is that the start of Liverpool returning to form, or do you still feel there are issues there, and do you see yourselves finding some consistency, or are you still going to have the trouble you've been having since the start of the season in terms of performance?
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about this, I think we were at game week 5. Liverpool had won 5 in a row, 7 in all competitions, and we were saying they still don't look like they've hit form yet. And we were saying that's a scary prospect because they're picking up wins and almost as if we purposely jinxed them, they went on then to lose 4 in a row, and suddenly they weren't winning when they weren't playing well. They just were losing, and they just weren't playing well, and it was getting worse.
At the risk of upsetting Liverpool fans, they were finally getting the results their performances deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. So had they have come up against a better team, or at least a Villa team in better form, would they have come away with that result? I'm not.
If
not
it was the Villa of the form they had last season, I think no.
I think Villa go on and win that game. But
look, it's this season. It's not last season, and Liverpool with a much needed 3 points.
Yeah. We'll move on then to Sunday, and looking at the West Ham Newcastle game, which you would say was probably the biggest upset of the weekend.
Definitely. I do wonder, is this Nuno putting a stamp down on West Ham now, or is it just Newcastle again who haven't been great, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, it's a difficult one with Newcastle because they are more or less the same team they were last season on paper. I think Nick Pope is still kind of a weak link in there, and I still think they're kind of missing the likes of an Isak. I think they're the same team as last season,
just without Isak's goals. Yeah, Liverpool are without Isak's goals as well.
That's true, and he's injured now as well, isn't he?
Is he?
He was out with that game against Real Madrid. So
Sweden will have no strikers going into their international break. Gyökeres out as well.
Gyökeres out as well, yeah. Yeah, look, it's a good result for West Ham. Will they be able to kick on from it?
Time will tell.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Another one of those. We'll see how it develops.
Be very worried for West Ham.
I've said that since the beginning of the season.
Everything seems to have to go through Gerard Bowen. If they don't have him playing his best stuff, they don't seem to be able to create an awful lot without him. He seems to be the one who comes up with the magic moments. And
now from 19th upwards, I'm just looking at the bottom of the table there. It's looking like it's going to be fairly tight. You have Forest on 6 points, and then West Ham 7. Then it jumps up to Burnley on 10. But I mean, you could go all the way up to Brentford on 13 points. It's going to be tight down there.
But it's tight the whole way through the league, as I was saying earlier. Like you've got, even at the top, Arsenal obviously out in front, but then you've got City on 19. You've got 3 teams then, Liverpool, Sunderland, Bournemouth on 18. 3 teams on 17, Spurs, Chelsea, United. 16, 15, 15. Like you could go the whole way down. There's only like
very tight.
Every weekend that table seems to change dramatically. As I said to you before, we went from 3rd to 5th to 8th in the space of 6 days. You know, that's how quick it could change. So again, coming up to that halfway point, coming into the Christmas period over the next couple of weeks, will really tell us who's struggling and who's challenging for that top 4 or challenging for the league.
Yeah, that's true.
If it's a case that Arsenal are still the ones to catch at that stage, time will tell. Moving on then to Man City and Bournemouth, the last game on the Sunday, and it was a really good game, and I think it could have went either way. Man City lost the ball a lot at the back.
Yeah.
At the very start of that game, and Bournemouth could have easily been a couple of goals up early doors. Obviously, City, you would argue they were good value for the money. I'm not trying to hate on City by any means, but I think the scoreline was probably a bit harsh. I think
a little bit flattering maybe I wouldn't say flattering, it's tight enough, but
yeah,
Haaland's 2 goals, he took them well, but Bournemouth kind of left themselves open to it. They opened up at the back for both goals. They
played a very high defensive line, and Cherky, who's just coming back from injury, seems to have sparked up a nice relationship there with Haaland, and was able to clip those balls just over the top of that high line.
Yeah, and
the pace and power of Haaland running into that space, running at the goalkeeper is always dangerous.
He killed them, but they kind of killed themselves as well. That high line, you don't push up that high when Haaland is the player who's trying to get in behind you.
No, very very difficult to stop once he's in full beast mode and he's running at the keeper like that. It's very difficult to catch up on him. The one take from that for me was City out of possession. Back when City were absolutely formidable and racking up massive scores against most teams, they had this philosophy that I think Pep had brought from Barcelona, where it was like get the ball back within 7 seconds, something like that, and they used the press very high, and especially if teams were playing out from the back or they were in possession at the back, you would just see the whole team shift up and everybody chasing down the man on the ball.
Yeah, they just used to overwhelm you.
Yeah, and they did it with such ferocity, and the turnover so high up in the pitch meant that they were creating a lot more chances. But I've noticed recently that they're actually falling back into like a low block. When Bournemouth had the ball, they had like 2 banks of 4 behind the ball. It was only really Haaland that was staying up, and they were tight and compact, almost inviting Bournemouth in and looking for that transition. That,
I've seen it
that
from
led
City.
to their goals.
I've seen it from City a bit this season, to be honest.
And I don't. It's not the City we've come to know.
No.
Obviously, maybe this is just Pep adapting to the shift in football and how it's moving, and maybe how much better most teams in the Premier League are actually at playing through the press.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where he felt City were at their weakest, especially maybe without Rodri in the team, kind of breaking up play through the lines and stuff. So maybe that's the thought process behind it. But I think it's there's definitely a shift in how City defend and where their attacks are coming from, because like we just spoke about, because Bournemouth were playing that high line, and maybe that's something Pep was looking at prior to the game, and looking for that quick ball into that space behind, just to let Haaland do his thing. Because
I go back to the Arsenal game, he lined up like that against us as well.
Yeah.
And that whole game was Arsenal trying to break down the low block.
Yeah, and maybe it's just Pep doesn't feel like he has the team or the individuals within the team to go back to playing that
possibly
high press.
But what he does have is Haaland up top, who, if City can absorb some pressure and then get an out ball up over the top to that monster running through.
Yeah, I mean he's unbelievable in a City team that you would have to say is underperforming and have been for the last 12 months. They have heavily relied on Haaland.
Hugely. Like
heavily relied on him.
It's I think I said it last week, if Haaland doesn't score, City don't win.
Yeah. Now they're I think they're just after beating Dortmund.
Borussia Dortmund, yeah.
3-1. Phil Foden with 2 of the goals, and Haaland, I'll just double check that score now, but Phil Foden, a couple of goals I think in the Premier League, but I've seen something where Haaland has now got 13 goals, and the closest to him in the Premier League from Man City is 2 OGs from an opposition player.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So for Haaland, I mean, it speaks volumes for them, because they're second in the league.
Yeah.
And
look, we spoke about him a couple of weeks ago, and you asked me how I see him. Like, we spoke about him, like, is he as good as people say? And we both kind of came to the conclusion that yes, he is that good. Yeah,
he is phenomenal. I think you put him in any team in the top leagues in Europe, and he'll get you goals without a doubt. And he's a good enough striker to be in whatever the best team in Europe is.
Yeah, because it's not just his strength; it's his movement as well.
You would wonder though, if City struggle to get back to the City of old, the treble winning City. He's signed a 9-year contract. I can't imagine, like, there's going to be a buyout clause in there. I'd imagine
he'll go for big money at some point.
It's 300 million, and there's only probably 2 clubs in the world maybe that could buy him.
Yeah.
I include Real Madrid in that,
and Paris Saint-Germain.
Barcelona don't have any money,
so you're probably right.
Liverpool will probably sold
2 clubs,
spent all theirs.
I doubt he'll ever go to Saudi Arabia.
No, not while he's young.
No.
He seems like the type of person that just wants to win everything at the highest level. That's his motivation.
Yeah, success is definitely
it's not money. I mean, I'm sure he's absolutely minted, especially on that new contract over 9 years. I can't remember the figures that came out at the time, but yeah, I mean, he's probably on about 60 million a year, maybe.
Don't know, couldn't tell you.
LeBron James money. But yeah, you would wonder how long he'd stick around if it's a case that City can't get back to their peak,
where they're just winning every trophy,
where they're winning everything, or even if they're not really in contention with the Premier League again this season.
Yeah, like if they drop off, just say by early New Year, maybe some players there will start to look elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean the signings over the last while have been very underwhelming. I know they've obviously brought in Cherky, who played well against Bournemouth, and Marmouche, who they brought in last January, and I personally think he's been one of their the more progressive, exciting players since coming in. And obviously he's coming back from injury, as is Cherokee. They're only kind of getting back into the team. You'd wonder what both of them fit. I think Jeremy Doku's kind of fallen off a bit of a cliff.
I said before, with the likes of City, even with all the money and all the investment and all the players you can bring in, there is a ceiling. There's only so far you can go in terms of the quality of the team.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get to a point where you either have to rebuild. Well, no, not even. It's not even an either or. You get to a point your players' age, and you kind of have to rebuild that whole thing again.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the best managers ever in the Premier League, and obviously Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger come into that for the longevity and the trophies and everything else. But also for the fact that they were able to rebuild and go again plays a huge part in that.
Yeah.
Ferguson had multiple iterations of his teams over the span of his reign, and then you've also got Wenger had the 98 team, the 2002 Invincibles, all that sort of stuff, so he was able to do it.
Yeah.
And consistently.
Do you find though it's been a theme of Pep's career? He gets one team massive success with a core team and then moves on. Doesn't actually rebuild a team.
You would have said that at Bayern and you would have said it at Barcelona. I think City are the exception in terms of the length of time he's been there now.
Yeah.
Has he gone through a rebuild? He's certainly gone through plenty of players. I think he's there 9 years now, is he?
Oh, probably. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
He's done a fair old stint now there. But I think this is the first time in that 9 years where you're kind of looking at the team going, they probably need 4, maybe 5 like top quality players.
The question is, does Pep want to do that? Or can you see a situation where he probably leaves next season after?
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Plus time at a club.
You'd imagine his ego wouldn't allow him to leave in a whimper.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
He'd like to go out on some sort of a high. And I'm not talking the FA Cup.
Just win a Premier League or something.
Just go out in the Premier League, maybe another Champions League. I think that their team is definitely suited better anyway to the Champions League.
Oh yeah.
I think the European football in general.
I think and if they won the Champions League this season, just say, could you see him pack it in after this season?
Yes, I could. I think it would kind of, from Man City fans, it would probably come out of the blue.
Yeah, a bit like Klopp leaving Liverpool.
That's exactly what I was thinking, where you probably expected him to maybe see out his contract and whatever, but there has to be some sort of motivation there. And if you're coming off, you see the lag off the back of a treble winning season and how long it's taken them to get that momentum back. You would wonder then, like I said, the ego being there, coming away with another Champions League, maybe thinking, right, what else is left for me to do?
Yeah, I mean, that does happen. And I think we spoke about it on last week's episode with Jer. The Spain job is definitely something that will be in his future, I think.
Yeah, I think for the amount of years and he's put into management at club level, you would say that's nearly like a well-deserved, semi-retirement.
Yeah. We'll see. Time will tell with Pep.
Time will tell. We'll finish then just on the Sunderland-Everton game that was on Monday night, and that ended in a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Not a good result for Sunderland. That you would, well,
I would say that would
maybe
be
not actually
disappointing.
Yeah.
I would have said for Sunderland.
No, I agree with you actually.
But Granit Xhaka, what a player he's been for.
Another outstanding performance for him.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really.
What a signing! What a signing!
Yeah, I think Sunderland, of the 3 teams that coming up, obviously look, the league position speaks for itself. Obviously they're
fourth,
doing the best out of the promoted teams, but I think how they played it in terms of their recruitment and how they've gone about it, they've really put a stamp on the Premier League.
Yeah,
they're playing some great football. They're really enjoyable to watch, and they look like a proper, well drilled collective on the pitch. I have to say, Ndoye's goal was really well taken. Nice bit of individual skill. He's a very exciting. I've
having a good season. Him.
Yeah, I've spoken about him before. He's a very exciting player to watch. I do enjoy watching him.
But yeah, 1-0. Probably would have. I can't remember what I predicted, but I say you probably would have predicted 1-0 or a draw. And anyway, going into that game. Yeah,
but look, Sunderland's unbeaten run at the Stadium of Light continues
on.
So fair play to them.
Well done.
And I think even at this early stage, you can't see them in any sort of trouble this season. That wraps up week 10 of the Premier League, and we will move on to the preview of Week 11 and the upcoming games, and we'll start with a very juicy one. The early kick-off on Saturday, Spurs against United at the
Toilet Bowl.
Toilet Duck Stadium.
Yeah,
it's I was going to say it's a difficult one. I'm just going to say that about every single fixture.
Yeah.
Because it really is. I don't know how I feel about this one as a Man United fan. On one hand, you would go, "Oh, Spurs away, that's a difficult one," but Spurs have been poor at home, with the exception of this evening's result against Copenhagen. They've been poor. You would have to say, I don't think you would go as strong as to say United are favourites going into this one. I don't think you'd be that strong.
I think this has a draw written all over it.
Desmond?
Possibly a Desmond.
I can actually see set pieces playing a big factor in this, and I can see United succumbing to a Van der Ven set piece goal.
Okay. It's just about how United respond, I suppose, is it? Or how United...
Well, United at the moment are struggling dealing with crosses, corners. We've seen it against Forest at the start of the second half last week. Matthijs de Ligt, who has really started the season very well, Lenny Oro as well, big fan of Lenny Oro, but they seem disjointed when there's a high ball coming into the box.
Right.
And the type of delivery that Spurs can offer, everyone from Pedro Porro to Romero to, they all seem to have good ball players that can pick a pass.
Yeah.
And I think that's where United would fall short. If United can get in there and get the ball down on the ground and play some of the silky football that maybe they played against Brighton and put them on the back foot, I think we might have a chance.
Yeah, maybe.
But to me,
it's a tough one.
Maybe I'm becoming a bit of a sceptic when it comes to United, but I think I'd be happy to get out there with a draw.
I just think it has draw written all over it. I think both teams have been inconsistent, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I think the game will play out like that. I think it just looks like a draw to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Moving on then to the afternoon kickoffs, and we've got Everton against Fulham at 3 o'clock, and that's at the Hill Dickinson.
I think Everton win that. Fulham,
I think that has another draw written all over it
think?
as well. Yeah, I know. Fulham are coming off a good win against Wolves.
I haven't liked Fulham. I just think they haven't really shown anything.
Yeah, I mean they were on a run of defeats in the lead up to that Wolves game. You'd wonder if they just turned the corner, maybe that, kickstart them into life a bit. Previous to that, they'd lost against Villa, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Newcastle. I
just look at it. I think Everton have a bit more going for them in this game. They're at home. They have players like Grealish and Ndoi, and I just think that'll be the deciding factor in the game.
So you're going to go with an Everton win?
Go on Everton.
I'll go draw on that one.
All right.
West Ham, Burnley, claret and blue derby.
Yeah, this is a draw. I think
I'm going to find myself saying draw for all this.
This is textbook draw. I think.
Yeah, I'll edge it with West Ham on this one.
Just because they're at home.
They're at home. They're coming off the back of that win against Newcastle. This is a must-win for Burnley. They have been decent this season. To be fair, previous to that, they themselves had beaten Wolves. They'd beaten Leeds the week before. West Ham is a team that Burnley need to be beaten if they're going to stay up.
Yeah, I think so.
And you could say the same against West Ham.
Say the same for West Ham. I mean, if Burnley win this, they put themselves 6 points clear.
Yeah, I think I'm talking myself into a draw here. Move on to the next one.
The
5:30 kickoff.
I'm actually worried about this game.
We just spoke about Sunderland's unbeaten run in the Stadium of Light, and we're now talking about Arsenal's clean sheet record. So somebody is likely to lose out on that.
Or it could be a 0-0.
It could be a 0-0.
You know.
It could be a 0-0. But Granit Xhaka to score against Arsenal.
This is what worries me about this game. You look at a game and there's a touch of destiny about it.
Yeah.
Everything for Arsenal, records at stake.
Destiny Awogi.
Yeah. You give out to me for these things. You know what I mean?
Sorry, couldn't help myself.
I so badly want to say Arsenal will win it, because these are the games you have to win. I say this every week. These are the games you have to win if you're going to be pushing for the title.
Travelling up north.
Just something feels like a draw about this.
I can see an upset, and I can see Granit Xhaka making the headlines for this one.
Yeah. We've no striker. Well, we've Mikel Merino, who's actually scoring goals, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like
how
it's
do you
a draw.
think, with Gyökeres being out then, how do you think Arsenal line up? Do you think Eze goes in there maybe as a false?
I don't think anything
number
changes.
9?
I think Merino just drops in for
Really? Straight swap?
and then I think you probably see Mendy's out. It's Declan Rice and Norgard in midfield then.
Norgard will play the holding role, will he?
Yeah, I would think so.
Free up Declan Rice,
and then you're looking at Eze in the.
Will he go left?
See, Eze be more free roaming, I suppose.
But he plays. He's playing that free role.
He's more
off the
inclined.
left.
He's more inclined to go in on the left. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Saka's obviously occupying the right.
Yeah, and then we've no Martinelli, so it's Trossard definitely on the left, and Saka on the right, and then the defence picks itself.
Yeah.
Calafiori, Gabriel, Saliba, and you're in Timber. I just don't have a good feeling about this game, and I have no particular reason for it. I think it's just going to be a tough game, and I just think draw.
Okay, I'm going to go Sunderland just to be different and just to maybe ruffle your feathers a bit. The late kick-off then on the Saturday is Chelsea at home to Wolves, and
we know what's happening there.
Heavy
defeat, I think, maybe for Wolves.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll get a new manager appointed before that game.
They won't make any difference.
No, not at this late stage. I mean, we're at Wednesday going into Thursday now, so it's unlikely. So I think we're just both going with a comfortable win for Chelsea.
Yep.
At the Bridge. And then moving on to Sunday, we've got Aston Villa against Bournemouth, and I'm going to go with a Bournemouth win on that one.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
Yeah,
I feel like Bournemouth have to bounce back from the City defeat, and
as I said before as well, I don't think Bournemouth played particularly badly. They just came up against an informed Haaland, who was set up to play perfectly against the system Bournemouth were playing.
And he's going to do Haaland things against teams all season, you know. So
exactly, yeah. He's fairly unstoppable at the moment.
So I think Bournemouth to bounce back, Villa to be asking questions maybe after this weekend. I don't know about what, maybe not that manager, because it'd be a bit harsh, but just in terms of what they need to do.
Yeah, they need some sort of a spark. We seen when Ollie Watkins scored a couple of weeks ago, we thought, this is it now. If Ollie Watkins is scoring, that might just be the boost that they need, but
hasn't looked like it.
No, they haven't kicked on. So I think if Bournemouth go there and they win comfortably, I think it's worrying times for Aston Villa.
Yep.
They may need to do some business in January if funds allow. Maybe get a couple of loan deals across like they did last season with the likes of a Rashford and Asensio that they brought in last season. Certainly when it came to the European games as well, gave them a bit of a kick up the backside.
It did as well.
Moving on then to Brentford against Newcastle. You would imagine both teams looking to bounce back now.
Yeah, but does that create a dead game? like you see this being probably one of the skippable games of the weekend.
Sometimes you would think that, and this is one of those games that would be like 3-4
true
end
enough,
to end. You can see it from the point of view that both teams are going to be desperate to get all 3 points. Neither team are going to set up to come away there with a draw. I mean, Brentford are at home, they're at the GTEC Stadium. They're going to be wanting all 3 points there, and
I just look at
and bounce back. And Newcastle the same.
I think they cancel each other out. I'm going to go draw.
I think we're nearly saying draw for all of them. That's how difficult it is at the moment. And
I just think with that one they cancel each other out. But
I'm going to say Newcastle. I'm going to say they're not going to travel all the way down to London and go back with nothing. I think they're going to
get McDonald's on the way home.
Yeah, or a chicken hut.
yeah.
Gravy. Northern boys love gravy. Then we've got Palace Brighton. Palace Brighton are nearly like identical.
Yeah.
Like
I'm gonna pick a winner in this one just because I keep sitting on the fence, but I think it's gonna be a draw. But I'm gonna say Palace at home.
If ever there was a Desmond.
Yeah, I'm not doing it because I've said too many draws. I'm gonna say Palace at home, so I'll give them the win.
I think Palace have definitely been more consistent than Brighton.
Yeah,
and I think they'll struggle to deal with Mateta. I think he'll make the difference. I can see I could see him causing the Brighton defence trouble, so I'm going to go Palace.
Yeah, both Palace on that one then.
Then we've got Forest and Leeds, again, also at 2 o'clock.
I think Forest win this.
That's at the City Ground. I think...
Again, another one of those big games at the bottom.
And again, this is a fixture that you look and you would expect Leeds to show up for.
Yeah, but I think Sean Dyche is going to Sean Dyche this game.
Yeah,
and,
probably, yeah.
Get a result.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of teams like Forest and Leeds and teams further down that rely on moments and individuals to create moments where collectively they don't look great at times, but what puts points on the board is those moments.
And especially down at the bottom.
Especially down at the bottom. Like, you look at Forest, you would say the likes of a Morgan Gibbs-White could change a game for Forest. You've got the likes of Aronson's always kind of doing well for Leeds. He's a player that always seems to make something happen.
The reason I'm giving this game to Forest, because of Sean Dyche as well, and like I said, he's going to do the Sean Dyche thing and probably grind it out and get the win. But when you look at the table, it's a big game for Forest. They have to win it.
Yeah, I don't think
the reason it's a big game for them. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
They're playing Leeds, right? Who are 3 places above them. But the other game the weekend, West Ham Burnley, who are also the 2 places above Forest. There's going to be points dropped in that game somewhere as well. Like, it's a massive game for Forest to win this game this weekend.
Yeah, and you mean Wolves are all but certain to go down, all but certain to lose to Chelsea this week.
Yeah.
So they're not going anywhere. So there's 2 spots left to go down, and
Forest could do themselves a favour by winning this weekend.
They're the types of games you need to be picked. That's where you need to be picking up your points, beating the teams around you, as we said earlier.
Yeah, so I'm going Forest.
So you've got Forest and Leeds and West Ham Burnley, like that's 16th and 19th all playing each other. And yeah, it's, as I said, there could be a lot of movement or no movement whatsoever at that that end of the table.
Yeah.
You know. So it'll make for interesting reading now when we review this again next week. And the next game then is
it's the final game of the weekend.
The final game of the weekend, and it's the 4:30 kickoff, and it's a big one.
Yeah,
it's second versus third.
Now, if ever there was a game I wanted to draw in this weekend, it's this one.
Both teams are going to be looking up at Arsenal,
who will have played and they will know exactly what's happened.
Yeah, and it'll be motivation for both of them to go out and put a marker down. You would imagine City would come out of the traps and try get an early goal, especially with it being at the Etihad.
Yeah.
Try get Haaland on the ball as much as you can. Try control the game, keep the ball. Where I think it will be won or lost is the transition for both teams. And given how fragile Liverpool's defence look at the moment, I mean, if ever there was a game for a Jeremy Doku and a Marmouche to be playing, or at least starting, I don't know if Marmouche is fit enough yet to start, but just run at that Liverpool defence.
Oh yeah,
just run at them,
because they seem to panic, especially out wide.
Yeah, I think if you can poke Kanate and Van Dijk on the back foot, have them running backwards towards goal, have Van Dijk twerking again.
Yeah,
get that ball into Haaland as quick as you can.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards City on this one. I could see a case where it's a draw, but I think that's just me heart speaking, thinking that's what I want to happen.
Yeah,
I just don't see Liverpool winning at City.
No, I don't see a Liverpool victory at all here. I would say at best, and they'd probably take it. They'd probably take a point away from the Etihad, given their current form. So if I was to tip it to anyone, I'd tip it to City.
Yeah,
home advantage, but also Haaland in scary form and Liverpool's defence looking a bit shakier than City's.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna go City. I'm gonna go City with that one.
And so that wraps up this week's preview of match week 11 in the Premier League, and I think we'll wrap up this week's episode.
Yeah, I think that's where we are. You may hear some rain on this podcast again.
Yeah. We haven't quite
environmental hazards.
Yeah, we haven't quite soundproofed the studio just yet.
But look, it's endearing.
Yeah, it adds character.
Yeah. But again, just to say to everybody who's been listening to us up to this milestone episode 10,
Yeah.
thank you very much for sticking with us.
If you're following us on any of the socials, feel free to get involved in the comments, and you can also find us at anygames.ie. As you know, if you're looking to get involved in football, join a 5-a-side, or if you have a 5-a-side running, 5, 6 or 7-a-side, and you're looking for new players, stick a post up there and we will shout it out across all of our socials and spread the word and help you get set up there.
Likewise, if you are involved in any football clubs around the country and you're looking to get connected with coaches, players, or you have events or anything like that at your club that you're looking to shout out, put them up there on anygames.ie. There's a club section, and again, like everything else Gab said there, we will shout it out across all our socials and on this podcast and anywhere you can find us.
Yep, and just in the next couple of weeks, we've spoken about it before, we're going to be having a number of guests lined up between now and the end of the year, and also a Christmas special as well. We haven't quite nailed down exactly what that Christmas special is going to be. We don't know how special it's going to be. We don't know how Christmassy it's going to be, but we know there's going to be a Christmas special. And so, yeah, just stick around.
Stay tuned for that. And like Gav said, if you're following us on any of the socials, share out any posts you see, or if you are listening on Spotify or YouTube, follow us on there, leave a review, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, because it does help out the podcast. It helps us get noticed by other people. So if you could do that, that would be great, and thanks very much.
And before I sign off, Gav is back, baby. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to leave you listening to Dave all by himself anymore.
Please don't. It was a painful episode to record, that one.
It was a painful episode to listen to.
Yeah. So
I joke, Dave. The only reason I'm rinsing you now is because you rinsed me on that solo episode up and down to get you back. So now you have it.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. You hadn't said anything to me since you got back, so yeah. I was waiting for that. But yeah, we'll leave it there.
See you next week, folks.
Thanks for listening.
Slán